return them to me. Again, I got a written exchange as proof. This last time was with our youngest. I let him use an old iPod for a class assignment on a recent old tech gadgets. Apparently, her 13-year-old stepchild had the same assignment on a different day, and she decided both should get to use it. I told her it was my property, and she had to return it. Got another email exchange, and then I contacted the police. My ex gave the stuff back, but she lost her mind over me getting the police involved for petty stuff. She said I could have demanded it back after her stepkid used the iPod, and I told her she wasn't giving any of it back, and what I give for my kids is not for her stepkids. She brought up how more serious trouble could have come from it, and I told her it would be deserved because you cannot steal someone else's property. She told me it was just my spiteful side emerging, because none of it was a big deal, or I would never have given them to my kids, which I think is the dumbest argument. The phone was because his stepkids broke our eldest phone and wasn't about to replace it. Our daughter needed tools for school, and it was only for school, and she wanted to return them to me. But her mom said no, and then the iPod was just for our youngest. I'm not here to help her stepkids in any way. My ex and her husband and their mom, if she's still in the picture, can do that. Am I the a-hole? Absolutely not. What she was doing is plain and simple theft. And it's funny for her to, call you Betty and all this over getting the police involved, but she left you with no choice. This had gone on for God knows how long, and she was refusing to give back any of your belongings, which is way more petty and childlike, because why are you keeping your ex's stuff hostage, especially when they were given to the kids? And also her saying that they can't be that important if he let the kids use them is a terrible stance. So does that mean she will never let her kids use anything she deems as good or important? Just shows how much she cares about her own children. So yeah, not the a-hole, she is crazy. This next one is by Own-Bredford-2335. It's titled, Will I be the a-hole if I insist my stepson be allowed to eat meat? Here's the thing, my wife and I were both single parents when we got married. She is a vegetarian and was raising her kids as vegetarians. My oldest, shortly after the wedding, decided he also wanted to be a vegetarian. Fine, the vegetarian food is already being bought and prepared, so if that's what he wants to do, it's no skin off my nose. Well, a few days ago, my wife's oldest son decides that he is sick of being a vegetarian. He wants to eat meat. My wife did not have the same laid-back reaction I did when my son stopped eating meat. She categorically forbade him to eat meat. She said after all these years, his body won't be able to handle it anyway. I said we could start him out on chicken stock and see how he reacts to that, and she was pissed. We ended up arguing, and she told me under no circumstances are her kids eating meat, and to stay out of it. I said why was it okay for my son to stop eating meat, but not She said that I was being an ass. My stepson still really wants to eat meat. The smart part of me wants to be quiet, and the stubborn part wants to support him. Would I be an ass if I refused to drop this? No, you are not the a-hole, and I honestly find it very, very endearing that you are sticking up for your stepson. It does sound like She's 16, almost 17, but they broke up about a month ago. About 3 weeks ago, we were informed by her parents that she is pregnant. She is slightly showing. The dates line up with my son's relationship. My wife and I went into full panic mode. We waited a couple days before telling our son, who didn't know. He immediately said, "It's not mine, I never fucked her." I didn't believe him, as I know he is active. He did the sensible thing and asked me for protection. However, he kept on saying they never did it. He said he cheated on her. I had a heart-to-heart with him, and he is an absolute shithead, but I began to believe him. He said he always raps and he has asked for restocks. My wife, on the other hand, still didn't believe him. Both families met. My wife started the conversation, just accepting that our son is the father and was trying to figure out a solution, funding, etc. My son spoke up saying it's not his baby as they never had sex. He was genuinely angry. Then he made a comment that I'm going to rephrase. Apparently they only ever did a certain act which can't result in a baby, and it was unsatisfactory, so he never went any further with her. An absolute shithead, and we nicer because the relationship wasn't stressing him out anymore, that he didn't want to cut me off cold turkey so that it wouldn't hurt so much, and that it was hard for him too. He also thought it was okay because whenever I'd ask for hugs, kisses, cuddles, he'd check in with me to see if I was sure I wanted to. I would always say yeah because I was heartbroken and wanted to grasp onto the time I had left with him. During this talk, we realized that we couldn't share the same physical space anymore. He ended up leaving and staying at his parents' house that night. He was really upset about it because he said he had work the next morning and a lot of other stressful things going on. I told him that I was not kicking him out. I told him he could just go for a few days and come back, but he insisted that it was better to stay there for the time being. We started talking about our living situation again, and he suggested that he should be the one to stay in our house. I thought about it again and decided I wanted to stay because I lived there first and the rent is pretty affordable for a cute little house. He had assumed that I'd moved because of what I said earlier. He also said that he had more stuff and could afford the house on his own. Once it was clear that he had to leave, he immediately became hostile and cold. It was really jarring, and when I called him out for it, he said that I should understand why he's upset. I initially gave him 2 months to move out, but he said that he would be out by the end of the month. It was painful and frustrating to watch because he'd do it super slowly. He would only come on the weekends due to his busy work schedule and family obligations. But when he was here, he wouldn't really be efficient about it. He wouldn't even really use boxes until I brought some. I ended up finding a wonderful roommate to replace him, and the end of the month was getting closer and closer, so I had set a firm deadline for him to take all this stuff out. I also told him that he could keep smaller things there after the first, if that made it easier for him. When I set a firm deadline, he acted like I sprung the news on him last minute. He became nastier every time we talked and complained about how stressed out he was, how much he hated staying at his parents' house, and how he was blowing up his personal life. I just wanted to start healing and move on, so I eventually